Hello, everyone, and welcome to our 27th day, 27th, 28th day of our 30-day Business Growth Action Plan Challenge. I am Michelle O'Connor, your business growth strategist, and thank you for taking this journey with me. If you've been here from day one or you've popped into watched a few videos, thank you for coming on, and I do hope that you found the information helpful. And I would really love to hear from you. I have been monitoring, the performance of the videos, the views, etc., the comments. I would love to hear from you which one you found most impactful. That would help me to see maybe I need to go deeper into this. As you know, for we're doing something here online. It's really just sharing a framework and a template. However, I'm able to go deeper if I know that this is something that you're interested in. Now, as you know, our aim throughout this 30 days is to ensure that you have a business action plan for 2026 before you go off on your holidays. I want you to get ready to work in 2026 knowing exactly what you are going to be doing. And even if it's not with me, I hope you find someone who you can connect with, who you can speak with, who you can share your ideas with. For me, I have an accountability partner, and last week we meet every week. Last week I presented my strategic plan and my action plan for 2026. This week she's presenting hers. We are able to share and get feedback. But I want you to do the same for your business, because sometimes you can't see your blind spot. We call it blind spot, but you really can't see the things you can't see. And there are some things you don't know, and you're able to get ideas and input. So I really hope that you do that. Now, today we're talking about from strategy to operations, and this is where a lot of companies get stuck. When research has shown 1% is strategy and 99% is execution. The execution piece is where the bulk of the work is, and that also takes planning. You need to plan to execute. I think we plan strategy, but the execution we need to plan to execute, and it's not a skill that a lot of persons have. And when we talk about your zone of genius and what you're born with, I think I was just born with taking things that are huge and breaking them down into executable pieces. So I want you to remember, as you go through, know that you have completed your action plan at the corporate level. I know we had persons join in different roles. You would have now taken that and it's handed off to each department, whether it is sales, whether it's your marketing, whether it's your finance, you name it. Each of your departments, each of those levels in your organization need to also have an action plan. Now, the beauty about how we did it is that we started at the top. And let me just say as well, in strategic planning, we can choose different methods, whether you're top down, bottom up, top down, you name it. You're able to you're constantly getting feedback from the persons at the bottom of the org chart going up to the top of the org chart. However, whichever way you do it, once you have created your corporate action plan, that the plan for your organization, the next level is that now goes to your department. So if you recall, if you're just joining, most of the things that we talk about, we build on the day before. So if you have some time, I really would encourage you to watch the other 27 days that we've had so far. They've been amazing. So what would happen once you've created your list of initiatives? These are the things that we're going to be focusing on. Remember that we had assigned owners to each of those initiatives. What I need you now to do is to filter. Let's filter all the things that marketing needs to own. Let's filter all the things that sales need to own. That now becomes a scorecard for those departments. You hand it off to them and they now work with their team. There's some things in it. I've been using marketing, so let's use marketing as an example. Your marketing manager will then say, okay, I have someone who is in charge of communication. I have someone who is in charge of content. I have someone who is in charge of events. I am now going to be breaking down all the things based on the roles, and that is what we call cascading. And I would have shared a video with you before, or no, I shared a picture with you before, the waterfall method, as we call it sometimes. But what you want to do is each of your departments are now going to have their scorecard that's now cascaded by role. That is how you ensure that the things that the team members in your organization are doing are directly linked to your overall goal. So they're just not making things up on the fly. But here's the other thing I want you to remember. For each department in your organization, you should also be thinking, you should always also have a forward looking hat on. So the initiatives that you get from the top of your organization, those are your actions that you're going to be taking. That's operational stuff. Those are the things that will say keep the lights on. We're going to generate this revenue. We need this to do it. However, there's another piece that I want you to think of, which is your strategic. As the leader or in that particular role, what you also want to be thinking about is what's coming up. What are some things that we need to do if we're talking about growth? And I'm going to be sticking with the marketing example. We're talking about growth. One of the things that you may be thinking, what's new? What's innovative in the marketing environment? Maybe we need to work on our branding. Maybe we need to work. And when we talk about branding not only means label on a building or on a website, but or executive. What's the presence of the persons who are at the top level? Maybe we need to get them on some talk shows. You name it. Thank you. Hey, thank you for coming on. Right? So as you go through, that's also what you want to think of. And as the CEO and the founder, you're also demanding that from your leaders. You don't just want them to take what you're giving them to do or what you discuss in a meeting. You want them to also think about what is out there that I am not seeing, because you're the expert. You're mingling with persons in this environment. Yesterday, we spoke about developing your AI strategy. Maybe you don't have someone in your organization who owns AI. I remember when, the digital environment, as I shared with you, I worked in finance, and when digital tools were coming out, we had a role for our digital, I remember what person who owns it, right? And so their role was to look at all the things that we do in the organization, all the digital elements that are there, and then their role was to bring to us what we need to do to implement to help with growth. If you understand, let me know in the comments if you understand what I'm saying. So your role as a leader, know that your organization's action plan is complete, is to act. That's the operational side of it. You're carrying out the duties. We have said these are the activities we're taking on to meet the goal, but you're also wearing that strategic hat where you're thinking about what is coming up that may impact our goals. And I want you to think about that as well, because if both things aren't being done, what tends to happen is you find that you're playing catch up. Oh, this thing is out now, maybe we need to do it. No, but if you took some time to think about it beforehand, or you're watching, or you're reading the articles, you're subscribing to whether Harvard Business Review or the different credible write-ups that can give you insights into what's happening. You always have your eye open, and because of that, you're able to bring back to your management team, hey, this is coming up. This is something that we need to pay attention to. Right? So I want you to remember that, because what we're talking about this week in our final 3 days is what happens next. Now that we've created the plan, we know what we're going after, we know the resources, the teams are now going to be taking these plans and they're going to be doing what we did over the 30 days. So it's a cycle. It's not we start and stop. I'm going to be talking about that cycle on Friday, because I don't want you to think that this is the end of it. It continues. You're always planning, you're always budgeting, you're always planning for execution. It continues, because once you start implementing, you're going to be reviewing. And that's the other thing that I want you to talk about: monitoring of your goals, or monitoring your performance. We already spoke about how to monitor the meetings, the KPIs. We spoke about that, but this is now from it's more than a behavioral perspective. But what I want you to do is have your meetings, and you're having maybe 4 levels of meetings. Let me call it. Let me say that. You're having your meetings with your departments, because now everybody have their goals. You're having your meetings at your department level. So as the manager, you're having the meetings with your team. Then you as the manager, you're also having meetings with other managers. Maybe this is with the CEO, right? And other executives, maybe. And then there's another level of meeting that the CEO and the founder, you're having with your executive and your board. And also, you're also having meetings with all your team members. Now, why is this important? This is how you ensure that the communication gap is closed, because you've touched everybody. You're touching all the members, the team in your organization. You're touching your managers, you're touching your executives, your board, and the communication, it flows. It flows every direction. You're bringing back feedback. If there's an action item, you're bringing feedback. And that is important for you to have. That is how you ensure everybody is in the loop, and what is being done is what you really want to be done. So when you do that now, what you're able to do is review your performance, and you're able to adjust. You're able to make changes. You're able to see what is working and what is not working. And you're not waiting until end of year, end of the quarter, but you're getting it in real time. And while we did a live about meetings and effective meetings in this process, because I wanted you to see that your meetings is not just an annoying thing, or we see these reels and stuff where it's this could have been an email, or here we go again, another meeting. When you are intentional with your meetings and how you set your meetings up, it does impact the result that you get. And I wanted you to see that. So host your meetings is a part of your review process. In that review process, you're able to adjust and realign where necessary. Things are working, or you know what, this is something that I've seen other organizations do. Maybe we can take it on. So I want you to think about that. And we're going to be having a full conversation about rewards. But sorry, for today, I wanted to share that with you. So thank you so much for coming on. Have a good day.